Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1824. 24 has some significance here because today I'm talking with Mr. Le Mans.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Hobro, Denmark, with a very special guest by the name of Tom Kristensen. Tom, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear? Are you ready to release the clutch?
I'm ready. Thanks for having me, and I look very much forward.
Well, you are always ready, and Tom and I were talking a little bit, and this will all make sense as we move into the show here today. But, you know, I've interviewed a lot of people, and he's guest number 1824, and those two numbers have a significance in his life. 18 Le Mans races in a row, and of course, Le Mans is the race of 24 hours. So I didn't plan this, Tom. I think it's just serendipity that you and I are talking today. And before I give you a proper introduction, what's one little thing that most people may not know about you?
What I'm passionate about, I don't know, many things. I don't know. I mean, being from Denmark, I'm from a little Viking town called Hobro. So just looking out of the window here, I see this beautiful fjord running in between the streets of my little town. And just imagine that, 1,000 years ago, the Vikings, they left surely in their big boats or ships from this place. I don't know. Maybe people don't know that that's how, or maybe that was a little bit of a passion I had within the racing community, trying to or being able to work and drive and have a passion for racing cars instead of these Viking ships.
Well, in a way, you are a Viking, my friend, because you ventured off around the world and drove just about every car there was to drive. You conquered lands, you conquered racetracks, and then you retreated back to this peaceful, beautiful part of the world to relax and recoup and rethink and look forward to the next great adventure. So that's a nice correlation there. A beautiful part of the world that you live in as well.
Yeah, I think it just came up. I mean, I do like to play soccer or playing other sports and have fun with friends in team sports. But I have to say, and now I'm just a little old, maybe a bit more boring than I used to be. But I enjoy my family. I enjoy seeing my kids happy with the exploits, their direction they're going. So I don't know. There's probably not many things that people not necessarily doesn't know about me.
Well, now you're an open book because that's what we're going to be talking about today, a new book. So let me give you a proper introduction, and we're going to dive into your world of racing and this fabulous new book. My wife had to come out last night and say, you know, it's kind of late. You got an early call tomorrow with Tom. You need to get to bed. And as I was devouring this book that I just got, between 1997 and 2014, Tom Kristensen won the world's toughest motor race, the Le Mans 24 Hours, a record 9 times. That's right, 9 times, and finished on the podium on 5 more occasions. He raced Le Mans for 18 years, as I said. Every time his car made it to the finish. In fact, he was in the top 3 each of those times, and it's no wonder that this great sports car driver is known as Mr. Le Mans to motorsports fans around the world. Now retired from racing, as he said, in his new boring life. I have a feeling it's not that boring. Tom shares in this new book, which is titled Mr. Le Mans, his deepest personal reflections and insights from inside and outside of the cockpit. He looks back at over 30 years spent striving for perfection in racing and tells of the battles, the setbacks, and sometimes seem impossible to overcome, including a terrible accident in 2007. We'll be back in just a minute to learn more about Tom and this new book, but first a word from our valued sponsors. So give them a listen, give them a little love, keep your seatbelts on. We're at Le Mans today. We're going to be moving fast. We'll be right back. Did you know the most damaging thing to your vehicle's interior is the sun? Harsh UV rays damage your interior over time, cracking the dash, fading colors, and the heat makes getting into your favorite ride downright unbearable. My friends at Covercraft have the perfect solution for you and me. Their quality-made sunscreens are easy to use, take seconds to install and to remove, and they protect your vehicles while parked in the sun if using a cover isn't a good option. I have one for every one of my cars. They come in a variety of colors and options, and their accordion design makes unfolding and folding them up for storage as cool as the summer breeze. Your sunscreen comes custom tailored for your special vehicles and manufactured with the quality and attention to detail that's been the standard for Covercraft since 1965. Here at Cars Yeah, I've got a savings just for you. Use the code YEAH21, that's YEAH21 at covercraft.com, and they'll give you 10% off your Covercraft order. That's right, 10% off. Simply use the code YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. When it was time to renew my collector car policy, my carrier raised my rates by a lot. But why? My usage was the same, my car's value was the same, and I had never made a claim. I didn't even have a ticket. The only change was their rate, and they had no reason why. What's with that? I researched my options, I spoke to others, and with American Collectors Insurance is where I now have my policy. What a difference. A live person actually answers the phone. She spent time learning about me and my Porsche Turbo, the one I call my Orange Crush, and provided a reasonable quote. American Collectors Insurance now protects my special ride. I'm saving hundreds of dollars, and I can sleep at night knowing my baby is properly insured. Why wait until your next premium is due? Give them a call today for your personal agreed value quote. Call 866-AC1-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Green at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance, classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors, automotive enthusiasts just like you and me. That's American Collectors Insurance. All right, Tom, so let's dive a little deeper into the corner, something you've done many, many times. And I want you to share, kind of go back. Now, we can't cover it all in this show, and I don't want to give away all the secrets of this book because it is so in-depth. There's 431 pages in this thing. I mean, it is a huge, huge book. But let's kind of go back a little bit and have you share your progression through your racing career. And then we're going to dive in a little bit later here into Le Mans specifically. But you've driven lots of different cars on lots of different tracks. So, my friend, take the wheel.
Yeah, I guess, Mark, it started on a gas station. I was homeborn on this gas station where I grew up to see, obviously many cars coming in, getting refueled, but at the same time, it was also refueling for my dad, because in the workshop, he was preparing his racing cars. That was mainly touring cars. It could be Ford Escorts, or it could be rallycross cars from Opel, Chevrolet. He was driving all kinds of cars, and to feel this unique atmosphere of these guys bonding, trying to make the next trick on the car, trying to optimize it for the next race, where they would either, maybe he would roll the car, or he would retire with a failure, or sometimes he even won races because he was goddamn good. He was very fast, but he didn't have a lot of great success due to the humble beginnings. But that put a seed, or saw a seed in myself, and I definitely wanted to achieve something with karting. So I started with these little go-karts, and I begged my dad buying me one after he took me to a rental karts a few times. And I was 8 years old. I was then 9 years old, and I got my first kart. And that's how it started, going to the small go-kart tracks where some of the young boys working at the fuel station, they just had driver license, and my dad asked them to drive me to these go-kart tracks, and I had my first feeling of throwing the kart into the corner, and sometimes throw it a bit too fast and not getting out of the corners as well. And that was the very beginning of my racing career. A great mixture of seeing my dad, seeing the way the they were bonding, and then starting to look for my own career with karting. And I certainly didn't think of it as a career back then, but it was something I really wanted to spend my time with.
There are some great pictures in this book of you with your folks at that gas station. I think it's great. And then your early karting career, which is pretty common for professional drivers to evolve through the karting time. But let's fast forward into when you got into, karts are real race vehicles, but real race cars, let's say, because you've driven a lot of different vehicles. When people think of you at Le Mans, they typically think of you, being in an Audi, but you've driven Porsche, you've driven even British cars. I mean, everything. So and open wheel cars. So let's kind of progress through these different vehicles that you drove.
Yeah, my whole career has been that I have not been able to sort of to put my own direction or pinpoint my own direction. I had sort of to beg people a few times, and I had to impress people. I had to get the feedback, hopefully a positive one, that I could drive their cars. And that was so the route of my racing career has been incredibly versatile, and that was also in play for being the title of the book, that I was one you could call as a Mr. Versatile. And it would also have been more correct, but nevertheless, the Le Mans race, as we know, is very much where my career headed. But driving all these cars from karting, going into Formula cars, Formula 2000 to Formula 3, back to touring cars, the front wheel touring cars, the 4-wheel drive Group A cars, a Group C car for a test and a drive, back to Formula 3000, then into sports prototypes, and then back to touring cars in BTCC, then to DTM cars with the V8. So it's all a mixture of everything. And then sometimes during the winter, we have this race of champions where we all gather from different disciplines and go head to head in rally cars and buggies. And it's also a great mix of different driving style, different culture, and certainly people from different countries, all around a great mix of experience, which I truly enjoyed.
You drove just about everything, and I would assume that all these experiences culminated when you got to Le Mans and started driving Le Mans and understanding it. And, there's a couple people in your life, and they're listed at the beginning of this book, Dan Philipson and Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, who say some very nice things about you. At the same time, these are people that I would assume are inspirational mentors of yours. Are these some key mentors in your life? I'm sure you learned a lot along the way, but influential people that helped move you through your career?
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich was the managing boss of Audi Sport. So for sure, my very successful part at Le Mans, most of the years has been with Audi. I've driven initially with Porsche, winning at Le Mans, but also with BMW, with Bentley, and with private team owners. But by far, the teams I have driven the most with, and for the longest time, has been under the guidance of Dr. Ulrich as my sports chef. But in generally, I think from the beginning, I've always been, there has been people who look for this versatile. I mean, in America, Mario Andretti was a guy I was 9 years old. I was at the Understorp Grand Prix, and I took a picture of Colin Chapman embracing Mario Andretti, who just had run out of fuel from the lead of the Grand Prix, which was then won by Niki Lauda in this illegal Brabham car, or at least the regulation was changed right after due to this was the fan car, you remember?
Oh yeah, the BT46.
Creating the underscoop aerodynamically at the diffuser. So I took a picture of him there, and he looked a bit like my dad. My dad had a little bit of the Italian look on him, like a good old Mario has. And I think Jackie Ickx at Le Mans is also a guy which very much I like the way that they have been able to perform, and those guys have been able to perform at a very high level in different categories. This inspired me, and this is something which I said, whenever I'm asked to drive a car, I should just say thank you very much and then get on with it. That's sort of a nice plight, a nice way to go about it. And I would say all my career, it has been I have done that. And even nowadays, I do it a little bit with, I will say, with a different hat on, a bit more fun, a bit more relaxed, but in historic racing. So when I go to some of these meetings, it could be the Goodwood Revival, could be some historic meetings around the world. I jump in different cars, and I really love the heritage of that too.
Well, it's amazing because when you think about historic racing, for you to get into these old cars and have fun with them, because it is relatively safe compared to the kind of racing you did, it's got to be a blast. Do you have a favorite historic car that you've driven at Goodwood or another track?
Yeah, in Goodwood, there's sort of three main races. The Carrera Trophy, I drove looking at a picture here, 250 GTO Ferrari, the short wheelbase, lightweight, wonderful car, and
yeah.
we won from pole, and I had not been sitting in the car before that very day. That was a lovely, wonderful evening, running it into the dusk and finishing the race, a 1 hour race. That's a beautiful car. But also a muscle car like a 7-liter Ford Galaxy or Ford Fairlane. I drove those two to victory in the St. Mary's Trophy. These are, of course, a very powerful and wonderful cars, which has to be driven absolutely sideways. And it's a lovely feeling when they're coming out of the corners. And then the feeling when you're getting into the corners, when you're reaching the braking points, it's the opposite. Fear becomes a very much a word you are looking to because the brakes are not very good, not very efficient. So every braking point, you start to spell to hope and making sure that you can get the car in, and then you at the apex you are sideways again, and everything is wonderful.
Sounds like fun. Now let's get back to Le Mans. When you think about all the years racing Le Mans, endurance racing like that, is there one favorite aspect of this? Because as I read in your book, you were a guy that didn't just get in the car and go. You were involved with the team. The team was like a family to you. You brought everybody in. You walked the tracks. I mean, you're a guy that crosses every T, dots every I several times. So is there an aspect of this race that is the favorite part of it for you?
I think when we have done the book and we're reflecting on it, it comes quite easy to sound that way. But I think any driver comes to Le Mans, you understand the importance of it. Just when you enter the gates of Le Mans, when you enter and do your first laps around Le Mans, you realize this is a circuit which is much longer than any other racetrack you drive on. You are 3.5 minutes at least you are away, and you are away on a very high level because average speed, I mean, you can translate to miles per hour, but average speed is normally around the 240, 245 kilometers per hour. Wow. Of these clear laps you have. And you are not going below, you are like close to 220 on average in race speed over the 24 hours, including half an hour of pit stops. So you have to move fast. And of course, what's special at Le Mans is the night. It is the nature of you have the 4 or 5 different categories. So with the 60 cars, you constantly have to sort of cut the butter, making sure that you are passing smoothly, efficiently, but all the time, fast and consistent. So it is a big task on everyone. So to be prepared nowadays, you need to be prepared. And I think that's where you feel this ticking all the boxes. I've driven for Japanese teams, I've driven for British teams, I've driven for American teams, and of course with the German teams, which I most often did. And it was very important that you get this right attitude and trust and respect with your co-drivers, your teammates. They become the most important persons during that week in your whole life. And the same gathers for the mechanics and engineers. It is so vulnerable. Small things makes a big difference. It can be so you tend to be quite focused, and I guess that's what Dr. Ulrich is touching on in his nicely forward when he sometimes say that Tom he was he was always focused. Sometimes he was even seemed to be not happy. But to be honest, I was just kind of always making sure I took advantage of the opportunities which I now had. Because when I was a young kid, or when I was young in racing, there was 1,000 days where nobody could really care about having me as their number one driver. So I had to find my way and fight your way. And then you have to take advantage of when people really put you in the right spot. And I am very privileged and happy about that.
The old saying that every racer that's I've interviewed, and I've interviewed hundreds, is never, ever, never, ever give up. Those are the words. Now, if you were going to advise a young racer coming into racing or has been in racing but wants to go race Le Mans, and there's probably a lot of advice you could give them, but maybe you could touch on a couple things you would say to this young person.
Making sure that they live in the short term, that they enjoy what they are doing. They should, of course, they should have dreams, and they should really dream it, but not necessarily tell that to everyone. Just have your dreams, believe in your dreams, and then be working passionately with the people around them. They should be able to communicate what we want to achieve, why we are going racing, and they should have this mutual respect to the people helping them. And to them, they owe everything. They can tell them what they want to achieve, tell them the feedback they want to have. But your own dreams are free, and they should be as high as possible. But if you want to put it in slowly but truly, I have my big 9. So that's a dream it, make it visible to everyone, make it a realistic goal, set your targets, and then go forward. But certainly in the beginning, it's all about making sure that you get the support from the people close to you. And also they should get some knowledge about what you're doing, so they are able to be your best, let's say, positive critic, but not just a critic out of the motherly critics. You need some very, what do you call it, spot on critics to help you go forward from the people you respect the most.
Absolutely. Wonderful advice. The big 9, as you put it so casually. Oh my. Very good. Very good. Let's take a real short break here. We come back. I want to talk about a big challenge, because racing is all about challenge, and you've had a few of those in your career. So sit tight, keep the seatbelts on, and we'll be right back with the great Tom Kristensen. What began as a charitable car show has grown into the world's greatest collector car auctions, raising over $133 million for charitable organizations to date. For nearly 50 years, automotive enthusiasts from all over the world have enjoyed the Barrett-Jackson collector car auctions, and I'm a huge fan. Regarded as the barometer of the collector car industry, their auctions are world-class lifestyle events where thousands of the world's most sought-after, unique, and valuable automobiles cross the block in front of a global audience, in person, on TV, or streamed online. Barrett-Jackson produces the world's greatest collector car auctions in Scottsdale, Arizona, Palm Beach, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, and new for 2021, Houston, Texas. The excitement of Barrett-Jackson auctions is contagious, and a unique experience is not to be missed. And coming soon, something new for you Cars Yeah listeners. I'll be teaming up with Craig Jackson on the first ever Barrett-Jackson podcast, coming to your mobile devices every week. Listen here on Cars Yeah and check out the Barrett-Jackson website for unique details on this new, exciting podcast that I'm very proud to be a part of. And be sure to visit barrettjackson.com today. Barrett-Jackson, the world's greatest collector car auctions. I've discovered Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented Linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. Don't forget when you're subscribing to use the code CARSYEAH and you'll get $10 off your subscription. You're welcome. Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. All right, we're back. So I always ask my guests about a big challenge. It almost seems ridiculous to ask racing guests here on Cars Yeah about challenges, because racing is all about challenge. And one weekend you're a champion, the next weekend you might be a chump. You never know. But let's talk about a big challenge. In your book, you talk about many of these things that you overcame. Of course, one of them I mentioned in your intro, a very big shunt that you had. Whatever you want to talk about is up to you. But more importantly, is the lesson that situation taught you, as painful as it might have been at the time, and then how you took that lesson forward to race again.
Yeah, but I mean, a setback of, I don't wish that for anyone, of course. But to be out of function with your body, your mind, your let's say, it was very difficult. I was incredibly dizzy, and I had really a lot of pain for a long time. But any racing driver having to quit due to an accident, that's really something which I don't wish to anyone, and that sort of kept me going and sort of overcome that mentally to jump into the car. But the thing was that Le Mans was coming surely but truly. Within a couple of months there was Le Mans, but that was what I overcame. I didn't want to miss that Le Mans, but that became a difficulty. But I pushed myself to do it. I pushed myself to say I'm ready for it, and it also went well. But it was a very difficult time of my life. There was a lot of good people around me saying that I could relax, and I could even have a good life now and retire at meaningfully. But that was no way I was going to do that. So I was nice and happy to come back racing, and later on, 7, 8 years later, I decided to call it a day and retire myself due to age, gray hair, and let's say my visibility at night. So that was important for me. But I don't necessarily know what you take away of great lessons, but you learn, you get to know that it's the small things in life. It's the people who are close to you. It's the people you see, and that is something that you never ever should neglect. You should always remember that the people close to you in these cases are, again, we talked about it before, when you start your racing career, it's a networking of people close to you, not only family, but mechanics, friends, technicians. These really become important when you are going through things like what I did in this period.
Yeah, you mentioned in your book, you talked about after that, thinking about your wife and kids and what would they have done without you? I mean, these are things you run through your mind, and then you want to get them out of your head as fast as possible because they will restrict you most definitely. That particular race was 2007, is that right?
Yeah, that was 2007. But that period you mentioned is really kind of short, because it was quite soon after. I mean, I realized that everything was good, but I have been reading this book, which I also refer to in my own, the Miracle in the Andes by Nando Parrado.
Oh, yes.
That's just an astonishing book. And there's a lot of things there which any human person at times go through in their mind and in their thinking. And in a way, they have to, but hopefully they don't repeat that. But a few times, I think it's very healthy just to see that life is fragile, and you should treat it with due respect. You should do and absolutely compete in what you love doing, and that's racing cars. And what is funnily about that is that he went there as a soccer player, but in the end of the day, or football player. But nevertheless, Nando Parado, his biggest passion or largest passion in the world is actually racing cars. So that's where we met at a race in Goodwood. I was introduced by Jackie Stewart to him, and then when I read his book, there are some very life lessons which anyone ought to read.
No kidding. Yeah. And what a wonderful thing to get to meet him as well. That book is just absolutely incredible. And when you think about this book of yours, what's one thing about it that you're most proud about? The book itself?
Yeah, let's say it's my life. It's the full circle done in many ways. You know, when you do a autobiography about your life as a racing driver. So I have been happy that hopefully people can be inspired to follow their dreams, like we spoke about earlier. I mean, what I enjoyed the most was the pictures. What was difficult was to nail the pictures because, of course, to get one picture in, I left 20 out. So it was a difficult part, but it was a lovely part. And that's when I really, you can say, revisited the journey of my life in racing. Because a lot of photographers, I see what I have in my archive, and many of them were, of course, back when it was, or most of them were back when they were there in paper. So the photographers did a great job of putting a lot of these in. And Dan, as you mentioned earlier, the author with me, or the co-author, he made sure that he wanted the pictures to tell a story more than I wanted the pictures when the beautiful pictures, or when the car looked aggressive, or when we as person look better than on others. But no, he wanted more or less the pictures reflecting closer to the story as possible. So I hope it all give a sense of meaning when you go through it. But it's difficult for me to say then that's it, that's me. And then there's 3 other journalists putting a part of where I have not been able to touch anything. So they have reflecting a little bit, you can say, from the other side of the fence, or maybe you can say from the gate in the paddock, or outside the tent, or whatever. For that part, I'm very happy they have joined, and there's a lot of things which I ought to say, oh, really? Did they see it like that? Or did this, which I think is healthy. So it's not just us wheeling everything off, but it came back from the other side as well.
Nice job, Dan. Nice job. Yeah. He did a great job with that, because the first thing I did was glance through the book, look at the photographs. I'm a visual kind of guy. I come from a marketing background, graphics background.
Good. Yeah.
And that then pulled me in to go, okay, I want to read about this. So, Dan, you did a great job. Now, you're so-called retired, but you're not the kind of guy that's going to sit on the porch and watch the river go by your house. So what's some more bucket list items for you, Tom, that you really want to accomplish in your life?
Yeah, I mean, maybe get a river next to my house would be nice. But I mean, we can see the fjord. Bucket list, I don't know. I mean, I love motorsport, and the passion of being involved is still very attractive and a privilege for me. I work with the FIA. I work with television, with Formula One. I also work at the Le Mans race itself, around the TV role there as well. Mm-hmm. And then I have invested in small, I would say, not necessarily startup anymore, but in companies like it's a small fitness chain in Denmark. There's a chain of a bit of products for men and women in terms of lifestyle, of clothing, shoes, books, other accessories in that sense. Yep. So it's things which I'm interested in. My brother runs a travel company for motorsport, Formula One and Le Mans. And of course, during the COVID times, it has been incredibly difficult because it has been completely closed down. But things like that is what I care for, and what I'm happy to be involved with. And all of it is mainly started through my connection with motorsport, and I'm a proud testimony with the watch company Rolex, and they are of course supporting all the fantastic races we have around the world, from the top line of motorsport to the historic side of Pebble Beach or Rolex 24, Le Mans, Formula One, and Goodwood. So it is very difficult to say that I need something on my my bucket list. It would be, I will always run slower, I will always cycle slower, I will always race slower, but I would like to limit the slower the line over the years with time. That's maybe of my bucket list, meaning enjoying still to be competitive, because the competitive edge is what took me to where, let's say, where I am today. But it's always to be able to make sure you do it with, I don't know what you say, twinkle in your eye.
Yes.
Get it with in the right style, and that means that you need to be surrounded by passionate people. So in many ways, we say in Denmark, yeah, it's not good unless it's a bit of fun, and that's probably what I like to fill my bucket with. If it isn't from the water from the river, I don't have.
Wonderful. Well, let's talk about specific cars. I typically ask my guests for a very special car in your life. In this case, let's talk about a very special car you raced at Le Mans, because you've driven lots of different cars there. Is there one that you could pick out, maybe just for today, that stands out and share a great memory about what that ride was like for you?
One stands out. Anyone stands out of these 18 years. It was all different cars, but there was one model, and that was in, let's say, when I in the middle of my sort of Le Mans years, I had this rolling stint where I won 5 times in a row. I actually won 6 times in a row, but 5 of these victories were with the Audi R8 LMP1. So it's an Audi R8, which later the board of management at Audi decided to name the road car, let's say the middle engine road car. Their sports car for the road today is called an Audi R8, but the name came from the car which we very much had great success with at Le Mans. And the 5 times it won, I was one of the drivers every time. We also won the American Le Mans series back in the beginning of the noughties, going around to the different states and lovely and wonderful circuits in the North of America and Canada. And that was a great time. And the car was able to, we could optimize, we could change the setup, we could change the aerodynamics, we could change the whole suspension to kind of suit a different circuit, like the 12 hours at Sebring, which is the most bumpy and uneven surface on the planet. But we like it. We love that challenge, and driving it into a late March, let's say for us, kind of summer evening, but a spring evening. And it could fit Donington, or it could fit Road America, Laguna Seca. We could also be competitive at Jarama, and of course, at the big one, the 24 Hours of Le Mans in June. So I would say that car was for Audi very, very important, and was sort of the fundament of the sports car. Let's say it was a magnificent racing car, and of course we are now very proud of it. I have a road car, an R8, one of the initial one with the V8 engine. I mean, nowadays you will probably have the V10, but I have it with an H-pattern gearbox, and that car means a lot to me. So if I want to be reminded a little bit about our R8 days in racing, then I can drive that, and I can reflect on a great time with Audi and the Audi Sport Team Years, the Audi Champion Racing, Audi Sport Team Go, the Japanese team, and my teammates and myself had such fun memories from.
The R8 is so cool. I had a friend, Duncan Dayton, who was running Highcroft Racing, and I got to go to watch. Yeah, I got to watch one of his races, his team race at Miller Motorsport Park, and Audi brought the new road car R8s and got to drive one around the track. And it was the first time they were new. They were so wild and different looking. And you brought back that memory. And then this past weekend, I went to a car show here locally, and I followed two brand new R8s up the freeway that came buzzing by me, and I had to tuck in behind them, of course. They enticed me.
Yeah.
I've always thought that was a beautiful looking car, and the race car version of it was spectacular and incredible. So that's wonderful. Now I'm going to crawl into your head a little bit here, a bit of a psychiatrist, if you will. This is a very unique question that I'm betting nobody's ever asked you, but I'm going to give it a shot. If you were a Le Mans race car, Tom, you are manifest as a vehicle. This is your personality in a Le Mans race car. Which one would you be, but more importantly, why?
I'm fascinated by the shape for sure of the Porsche 917.
Ooh.
I'm fascinated about the Ferrari, the 330 from '67.
Oh,
I
gosh.
think it's the P4 is the last one they made. It's P3 or P4, but it's from my birth year 1967. But at the same time, it was the Ford GT winning back then. So it's a mixture of those cars are incredible because they are the what you can say your childhood inspirational. But I can't get out of the Audi R8 as well. So you need to put that one in because at the end of the day, a psychiatrist, I would probably say, what do you dream of, or how would you be successful? Right. And then at least I can put the testament that with the Audi R8, it was never too bad.
No, not never too bad. Nice way to put it. You listed some pretty spectacular cars there. 917s, a P3, P4. I mean, holy cow. But all of them had a special place in Le Mans history.
I like and I followed also after my career a lot of the Le Mans history. I mean, I've driven the Bentley, which made fastest lap in 1923 at the very first race, and then Bentley won in 1924. I've driven that Bentley or tested that Bentley. I've driven the Ferrari, the 166, the one for which it's a 12-cylinder, but it's a 2-liter, so it's not very powerful. But it's still pretty cool. After Ferrari, I did the Ford, the GT. They won in like 66, 67, 68, I think, in that era. And I drove the one from they have in the museum. I drove the Matra Simca. Oh. It was the winning car with LaRousse and the Pescarolo. Mm-hmm. I think it's from 72 or 73. And now I hopefully will get on and drive a few other cars from either winning or very successful at Le Mans. But for my own car, the most elegant I drove was the Bentley from 2003. It's a very beautiful race car and a damn hot race car and a very, let's say, edgy in direction change, but a very beautiful car. And the most, let's say, initially a beast, very tough to drive, was the Audi R10 with a V12 TDI engine. The weight distribution, very, very tough. And I think you mentioned your friend Duncan Dayton before, and I think that was kind of the time where he was racing with us in the States. And I've also seen him a few times jumping into a historic F1 car and not necessarily waiting for someone. That shows that a lot of good people with a big heart for the right cars.
Yeah, Duncan and his brother Judd. His brother Judd has a 250. You mentioned short wheelbase, and I was at the Cavallino event years ago, and he was there. It was the first time I met him personally, and I walked up and called him by his nickname, which is Bino. That's another long story. And I mentioned I loved his car, and he tossed me the keys and let me take it for a drive, which was pretty cool because I'd never driven a 250. That was nice of him. But Duncan is a prolific historic racer, of course, as you know. But going back to the Matras, I'm looking here at a lineup of the drivers that drove Matras. You talked about Pescarolo, Graham Hill, Francois Servet, Howden Ganley, Jean-Pierre Jabouille, Beltoy, Amon, Chris Amon, LaRousse, Jean-Pierre Jarret, and Jackie Ickx. I mean, there's a lineup of incredible drivers.
Yeah, they had 3 very successful years, and they were in Formula One as well. But basically, the car, the Matra, is very much based around their Formula One engine, and it's a very rough sounding and very powerful and great engine. I love the test and the whole. When I tested it at Le Mans, the Bugatti track, people were stopping, people were coming in, they were making U-turns. They were coming in to have a look, because that sound is very much a French national symbol.
Yeah.
That's when the deep blue cars were conquering at Le Mans. And if you know more the history and talk more, you know that Peugeot did also win 92. They won again even in 2009. But it has been more German, British, or Italian teams winning than French teams. But when the Matra engine is ignited, and when you are heading often with the ref counter going 11,000, 12,000, it sounds very, very good. Fascinating.
Those blue cars are the Gitanes livery, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. I raced a 67 Lola T290 sports racer in vintage racing that was a Gitanes livery car. So I know the dancing Spanish lady well.
Apparently, they were not probably not the most healthy things to smoke, but that was straight fire into your mouth, I believe.
I think so. Matra too, when I was in high school, I worked for a guy who was imported Danish teak furniture.
Yeah.
He tried to sneak. Remember the Matra Simca Bagheera, the center seat road car they made for a little while? It's a very rare car, never imported in the U.S. And he tried to sneak one in a container full of Danish furniture to get it into the U.S. because they were blacklisted, and he didn't quite make it because it was leaking fluid from the radiator. And when the inspectors opened the container to see, okay, it's just got furniture, one of them noticed this funny looking fluid coming out of the bottom and said, "What is this? It looks like coolant." And sure enough, they made us come down and empty it. And I didn't know the car was hidden in there. And sitting in the back was this bright yellow, I think it's Bagheera, Matra Simca Bagheera, center seat, kind of like the McLaren Formula One road car.
Yeah.
With the two side seats. Very unique car, but sadly they took that away from him. And I probably ended up getting crushed or something like that. But I'd never seen anything like that before. So yeah, another history you're bringing back some great memories for me today, Tom.
That's good.
Fun stuff. We're going to take one more short break. We come back. Let's mention your book and maybe another book. You mentioned one earlier about the climber or the mountain experience. Let's put it that way. So sit tight and we'll be right back. I'm honored to say that my charity of choice here at Cars Yeah is Tech Force Foundation. They help young people find an education and career that aligns with their passions. For those who love cars, problem solving, and working with their hands, a career as a professional automotive technician is the perfect fit for a fulfilling life. We're all wired differently, and not every successful career demands a 4-year university. Technical education and the skilled trades matter, and we need qualified, skilled technicians to keep our vehicles rolling. Learn more about how you can support tomorrow's driving force and workforce of technicians at techforce.org, like I do here at Cars Yeah. So obviously, I asked all my guests about a book. We're going to mention your book, of course, Mr. Le Mans. I'll put a link on the show notes page for Tom. You regular listeners know where to find it. It's published by my friends at Evro. They produce some incredible automotive books, and they brought me so many great authors. So Mr. Le Mans is going to be listed on there. And the other book that you mentioned about that very incredible mountain incident, I'll put a list of that. Is there another book that you'd like to maybe mention here?
I don't know, but I mean, I was, let's say, impressed about life. I mean, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
That's, I think now we talk a little bit about life wisdom, and maybe a little bit, it's not what you get, it's what you have.
It's a wonderful book. So I'll make sure I put those on Tom's show notes page. Okay, we're going to go on the ultimate drive here, Tom. This is kind of fun because I have a magic scepter, as I like to say. I can make anything happen. You can make people win Le Mans, or I can bring people on the show that have won Le Mans 9 times. Holy cow. So here's the rules to the game, the fun of the game. You get to pick the vehicle. You get to pick the person that you're with. This could be somebody living or someone deceased. Who would it be and who's going to be driving, more importantly?
Yeah, I don't have to be driving, but I mean, I don't know. Normally you would take a small local winding roads coming up through, I don't know, through Spain, through Italy, through Portugal, something like that. Yes, but not necessarily. If I'm not driving, I would love to make a long trip with, let's say, with my family, making sure that we stop at the right places and we agree. And that's probably why we will not be able to be successful, but where we agree having our breaks along the way. We have 3 children. I will say if my daughter will drive, it will be very fast, very efficient, maybe also a bit scary. My oldest son will probably be a bit more mature and a bit more calm and easy. And my youngest son, yeah, he's far from a driver license yet, but so we keep him out of the equation. But I think it has to be family related in that sense. There's a lot of course, very interesting people you would like to have on board. There's no doubt. But it will also maybe be nice at the different stations that maybe we can swap them and we can have somebody else. I mean, I would be happy to have you for a part of the journey. Sure, Mark, and hear stories about something which it could be any theme, but something which I would, if it's talked with energy, if it's spoken with energy and it's spoken that, then I guess I could be interested in anything. But life experience, life stories would be very welcome too.
That's a wonderful thought you put in our minds there, a wonderful road trip with family. And what is it about daughters? I have a daughter and a son. My daughter is a leadfoot. She likes to go fast. She drives a little Mini Cooper and she just loves to go. My son, great driver. Both the kids learned how to drive in our 72 911S Porsche. I wanted them to learn to drive a stick. And both of them, their first cars were stick shift manuals, so they could focus on the road and what they were doing.
Exactly my theory. They have to have a stick to drive before they get, or when they get the driver license. So the first car has to be with that. Definitely manual, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt.
But the daughter has always been like that. She couldn't care less about racing. When I was racing, it was, yeah, dad is racing, and so what? That's fine. I agree with that. But then sometimes when she had her birthday, I think it started when she was 9 or 10, she invited all her friends and she said, Dad, I would like to on my birthday that we go karting. And then she did that for some years and she just completely killed these guests, and she just drove in circles around them, and she was a proud winner. So yeah, she's lead-foot, and also she's pretty determined, and probably in some ways that she has a little bit of my genes in her. That's what I tease her with, at least.
Well, they always say when around the dinner table, you may think the kids aren't listening, but they are paying attention and they're hearing what you're saying. So, Tom, you have taken us on an incredible journey today, my friend. I could talk to you for hours and hours. Congratulations on a wonderful book, a fantastic book. All of you listeners out there who love anything about automobiles and motorsports, you need to have this on your library shelf. I'll make it very easy for you by going to Tom's show notes page and do a quick click to buy. Before I let you go, could you leave us with maybe a mantra, a success quote, or some parting words of wisdom and advice when it comes to life and cars and knowing how to have fun as you Danes do?
Yeah, it has to be fun. But I mean, the 5P is always good. The 5P, proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Yep.
So get on with it and enjoy. And I look forward to see you all, hopefully at a race meeting, or at least at a car meeting or gathering somewhere, if not only the United States, then somewhere in the world. Thank you very much, Mark.
Well, you're welcome. Is there a way for people to keep up with you these days? Are you active in social media? Do you have a website, or do we just need to find you at a track somewhere jumping in a car?
I will be my website, or I follow on Instagram, so tomkristensen_com. That's what I'm where I'm at. If it's business related, yeah, you can search me at LinkedIn. But apart from that, I hope you've listened to this podcast. So thanks a lot, Mark.
This has been fun. And a big shout out to our mutual friend, Judy Stropus, for introducing me to Tom. Judy brings some absolutely inspiring automotive enthusiasts here to Cars Yeah. So Judy, thank you again. Tom, hey, thank you for being so generous today with your time, your expertise, for bringing so much enjoyment to us racing fans for so many years. Oh my gosh, it's just been incredible to follow your career. Kudos to you. Congratulations. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you either down the road or at a track somewhere.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
We all enjoy our racing. Yeah, and thanks to Judy as well. Thank you. Good day. You have a long day. Thank you.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.